All right, now this one I am super excited to bring you folks. Welcome back to this accursed map. But what a matchup we've got. We've got Kalp in the blue, or red, sorry, playing as Delhi Sultanate, which should be an interesting civ to see. We don't really see enough of this civ. Kalp, of course, we saw him feature earlier in this series against ACCM. But in the blue corner, if anyone knows their RTSs, they probably know this name. It's a man, it's a myth, it's a legend, one of the best in the genre, definitely one of the best in the StarCraft game. It is Serral, Finnish StarCraft 2 player. I think, let me just double check. Yeah, $954,000 in earnings, earning $55,000 this year. God damn. That's big. All right, that's the Skrilla, right? That's the number we're looking for, right? Because we've had players like, fairly well-accomplished players like Marine Lord, Kelazor. I think Kelazor was like 180,000. But I think Serral is the highest prize pool earning player we've seen so far in this game. And he is blitzing it, by the way. Kalp is stuck currently down at 82nd, which is still respectable. But this man, Serral, already up to 16th on the leaderboards. And I'm pretty sure he started quite late here compared to the competition. So really impressive to see. Really excited to see what he can do with the Rust on this type of map. And interesting to see that he hasn't taken out these deer at the top yet. In fact, I don't think he's even noticed they exist yet. Is he building a new scout? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so just got the resource, so no new one is now coming out. One other interesting detail, by the way, he hasn't started to expand onto the water just yet. Kalp, meanwhile, look what he's doing. Straight away, villager. Oh, yeah, here we go. Straight towards that center mass of water. New villager heading for the defensive placement, actually. Going to go for the back dock instead of the center dock. Now, remember, we've seen multiple times. It's not a favorable choice to make. Usually, you want to go for that center mass. There's just so much food there that it's hard to ignore. Seems like Serral is attuned to the ways of hunting, though. You can see he's already actually just grabbing all these wolves to try and hunt down. And there we go. Second scout will head out, so you should snipe out all these deer. Remember, cool thing about playing Rust is you don't really have to invest people onto a gold line super early because you can actually just get your gold via hunting. And that's why if he just starts to prioritize on the food and wood, he should be set for a very quick tech up time. And meanwhile, Delhi, looking to at least get in on that food, heading for the center dock. He's about to start constructing it. Did take some damage here. Was that a wolf? I think he got attacked by a wolf, yeah. Meanwhile, both of them grabbing a bunch of these sheep to drag about. But this scout still isn't sniping out these deer yet. Yeah, so this should be where he does it now. Does he know about the micro trick? No. No, he doesn't. It might be that he's just busy with something else. Basically, for those that are unaware, what you do is you click, and then you click on ground, and then you click again. And what it'll do is it'll quick attack with the arrows. So you can very quickly snipe out deer this way. I think it's just a case if he's doing other things, so he's not microing him here. He doesn't feel threatened because he doesn't see the scout coming from this area from Kalp. And yeah, he's probably just focused on moving other things around. But especially in the early game, if you want to budget your scouts, get more value out of them, you should 100% be doing this because in the early game, there's not that much to micro, right? There's a one building, usually just one building your units, and usually a waypoint to gather things close by. So it's very easy to snipe out the deer quick, which already got done by Kalp on both of these loads. Oh. Bambi. Run. All right. Let's see. We said this game goes on into the late game, which, by the way, this should be close to an hour long. Let's see if Bambi lives that whole time. That's the true Disney story right there. That's what we need. Looks like Delhi's already on the water. Remember, they have some interesting, funky mechanics that people usually forget about. Their fishing ships can protect themselves. They actually fire arrows. You can see they do 7 damage. So, Kalp already being on the water is going to be quite the problem for Serral. I think this is kind of the power as well of Delhi, like in this situation, on this map. You can't let them just get on the water alone. I think, if anything, Serral needs to come and get a dock on the center here, on the north side, ASAP. We'll see if that actually occurs. There you go, Scout tries to go in, like, what the hell's this? You're meant to be a fishing boat. You fish, why have you got a bow and an arrow? That doesn't make sense. Who the hell fishes with a bow and an arrow? Outside of people in Hollywood movies. Tell you who doesn't do it, real life people, because they know that's dumb. Spears, folks. Use spears. I mean, I guess it's possible these fishing boats are just lobbing their spears, right? Too much thought process right there. let's just focus on what's happening here, because Dome of Faith is going up. This is a really cool one. It allows you to produce the scholars at 50% the cost, so you can get some early game presents out of the scholars, and then also you can go for these sacred sites, because remember they have tech that allows them to get extra gold treacle per minute when you control sacred sites, as well as the ability to cap these sacred sites in Feudal Age instead of waiting for castle. So it can be a really big deal. For those that haven't seen Delhi enough and kind of forget how they work, you're seeing he's like basically queued up all these researchers. Reason being is it doesn't actually cost you anything to research, it just takes longer, but you can shorten the duration it takes to research depending on how many scholars are sitting in nearby mosques. And nice harassment to get him off of the gold line. Remember, scouts do decent damage. We've seen this in the Scout Rush series, right? If you go for a decent clump of scouts in the early game, they do 10 damage per throw of their little torches. And these mining camps only have a 750. So slowing him down like this isn't too bad. The problem is it's too late to stop Calp from getting his tech up, and he's already got a spearman coming out to try and back them off. That being said, Serral did hit his tech up first, and he did go for the Golden Gate. This will give him an eco advantage quickly into the Feudal, where he can go for a quick TC boom timing if he chooses to do so. And there's plenty of room here to expand across to do so. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially with double gold mine. I think like double gold vein here is good value for a secondary TC between the two. I would actually love to see that at Serral. Of course, a lot of your wood production is going into the fishing ships here. Which, by the way, still no signs of him moving onto the center mass, which is even higher value, right, for Rust, because when you get out of these further in fishing points, you don't have to return with your fishing boats, because magically, somehow, I don't know what happened. I think they trained seagulls to return fish from Russian fishing boats to the dock. They just collect and then drop instantly. So, like, you can see, like, if you go up to... Which one's closest? Yeah, right here, probably. So once he gets up to 40, it's just going to magically drop off. Probably not the best indicator because it's right next to the dock, but the point is it doesn't have to return, which is very strong. Yep, plus 40. Outpost also going down from Calp, so he could actually upgrade this arrow slits and just frustrate Serral a little bit and force him to at least react in some fashion. I think arrow slits or just garrison isn't enough. Yeah, you can already see it's not enough with one arrow just pewing out every once in a while because the dock healing. But if he was to get arrow slits, maybe just garrison with the spearman, he probably just burns this back line and stops Serral from being able to do anything here. Oh, Serral continue to spam into the wood. Now getting the archery range up. Saw those early spearmen, just wants to have an early counter out. And yeah, here's the play. We see this so often out of Delhi players. Remember that their military units can build walls. Early on, it's just the palisades, but of course there is tech that allows you to even get stone wall building, which is pretty bonkers. But the importance of this is that it means that you'll be able to cap these sacred sites and your opponent won't be able to take them back early on. Because early on, it takes quite a while to get through palisade walls, even with a few spears or whatever. And if you've revealed spears, the other cool thing, and this is kind of the teeter-totter of transitions, right? If you built spears and your opponent saw that, they're probably going for archers, right? It's the most logical thing. Archers are terrible at taking down palisades. So this is going to have Calp a step ahead and are getting serious value in that regard. He already has spearmen going up to the north one as well, so he will wall in both of these, and he'll get the investment back before there's even an assault from Serral. And keep in mind, Serral will have to react because, remember, both sacred sites capped, that triggers a countdown, so you're going to have to get out with some military presence quite fast. And the issue that I see for Serral right now is he does not actually have any melee units, and instead is going for tech-free already. What? All right, this is... I've been seeing this more and more out of Rust players. They can get really cool tech timing, right? With the extra gold you gathered from the hunting, plus the fact that when you're on a water map, you get the fishing ships. It does allow for this. My only problem is like you're not going to be quick enough out to prevent the sacred sites. You're going to have to react to it, pivot react to it. And in terms of these relics, I think maybe Calp could match you and then grab 3 of them. I think that this is the contested one, right? You leave the Imam here, and then you can easily, or Scholar rather, and then you can easily go pick up this relic before a Warrior Monk can. And then you've got the other 2 on your side of the map. If anything, I would actually love to see more walls going up to cut off this choke point from Calp. We'll see if he does it, though. So Archer moves out. They spotted out what's happening with the sacred sites. Remember, countdown timer has now begun. Hopefully they're going to add a timer for that for you guys in future patches. But for reference right now, if he doesn't decap this, the game will be over at 16 minutes. Oh, sorry, 17 minutes. Maths is hard, guys. Moves out the scouts. So scouts is one way to burn through here. He needs maybe 4 archers to protect against this many spearmen, though. Could get a little bit dicey otherwise. And now look at the fishing boats. They're being sunk. And he's going for another outpost as well. Okay. things getting frisky here. Now, you could convert these into attack ships, but it's costly in this situation because then you're going to have to convert them back anyway for fishing ships because they'll have no additional value. So he at least moves them away for the moment, but with this new outpost, once he shift in, I think it's going to cut off all of these fishing points. And then that becomes frustrating for Serral because he has finally started to diversify, but he hasn't got any fishing ships out in the center mass yet. Meanwhile, on the other side, like if you get spotted by Kalp at all, this many fishing boats can push in and probably snipe out even like 1 or 2 attack ships, I feel like. Increase amount of archers up. No decap here. And Kalp is teching up, right? Yeah, there it is. House Learning now coming out. So yeah, House Learning, that's the one with the unique researchers. I think you can, if I recall correctly, you can you? I don't think you can queue scholars inside it like you would with a mosque. But yeah, he's going for the unique techs. I'm wondering what his long-term plan here is. Like, everyone always thinks Delhi and they go straight away like, oh yeah, just get like elephants. Elephants are great. And yes, elephants are godly. They're amazing. But I think in these type of games, there's very good counters for Russ. If you go late game elephants, Russ players can just spam out springolds, horse archers. They can also go for the gunpowder units. Like the Streltsy are very powerful actually against elephants. So you do have to be careful of that if you're planning elephants later on. But right now, look at these small plays from Kalp. He's walling off the relics. This is so big brain. Meanwhile, how many relics has he grabbed? He got one in the Abbey of Trinity. I think that's all he's going to get. Oh, no. Okay, the Warrior Monk found another one. So they came forward to wall this one, but they never bothered to actually secure this one behind them. Because remember, Kalp never hit that tech up timing. He's only about to hit it, so this is the point where he can actually finally pick up relics. In the meantime, battering ram has been built, so Serral does invest in this early battering ram to get access to the sacred site, but that will cause the decap. And remember, this is pretty costly for a Delhi player because, of course, you're getting extra gold treacle if you took the research, which he most certainly did. He's basically queued up most of the things, right? Yeah, so he already got through that research that he was getting extra gold. In terms of what's left, I think he's got the main ones now. Yeah. Meanwhile, at the bottom, there's the outpost just harassing under more of these fishing ships. They're not even in repair range, so it doesn't even take long to get through them. And yeah, he even switches priority over to the fishing boat, so that's pretty much the back eco for Serral burn. But remember, we said he started building the center, and he did go for the attack ship first. And he's even going for the boom ships. I love this move. This is so smart. So you can actually just destroy Kalp's central economy almost in the blink of an eye. And remember, when someone's this heavily invested in war, which is what he's anticipating that Kalp is, they are never prepped for a backup plan in the base, right? They haven't got a huge amount of like farms set up already. They haven't like expanded into a deer line yet. So they have to then transition their eco there. I didn't even mention this on the back line, by the way. This is so crafty from Serral. He snuck all the way around the back, and he took this back very easily defensible, very safe dock area from his opponent. But what did I expect out of a StarCraft player? They were going to be the ones to do something crafty, right? It's in the name. All right, enough of the terrible dad jokes. Moving in, demo ship, booms. And he's going to get rid of the rest of the fishing boats. Oh, all of them, even the new spawned one. So he converted his attack ship into a demo ship, built a second one, and that's the eco on the water burn. And look at this, it's more fishing boats. So if I'm Serral right now, yeah, look, he just goes straight for attack ships. He doesn't need to go for more demo ships. Now he can just push out attack ships and harass his opponent. Really, really smart play. Attack ship comes out. They should see the fishing boat and be able to snipe him. Outpost is still being a little bit annoying from Kalp back here, but I think Serral doesn't give a damn. He has to feel comfortable in his eco right now. Like, if we look at the numbers, this food is going to bump up further. He's going to comfortably be ahead. He's keeping competitive on gold. Wood is an advantage for Kalp right now. And second relic also secured for Serral, right? So, like, he's not too bad off on the relic count. His opponent should trickle up more gold soon, as I'm expecting a slight collection to be due. Oh, not. Knights came out, battering rams. This battering rams had so much value already. So he's going to get his third relic down here. Meanwhile, these two haven't even been grabbed yet by Kalp. And army coming out. Went pretty heavily into the man-at-arms. We'll wrap around to try and take out this dock. Got to be a little bit careful, though. Attack ships can cause a bit of a pain. Yeah, so snipe out the spearmen one by one. Looks like the dock should go down. If the demo ship comes out quick enough, this is going to be big. But I think there's just too much damage here, and it's just too quick. It was close, but if he got that demo ship out, he could have detonated the whole army. And he just got a revelation here. The Tower War Elephants are on the move from Kalp. This is where things get a little bit spooky unless you have ample military presence. And is he producing more? No. I mean, they are very, very, very costly units to get out, right? Like, especially when your food is now capped. That's why you needed to invest heavily at that point to then secure the central basin. He needs to make sure that he's got somewhere that he can get what almost feels like an infinitesimal amount of food because there's so many, deep water fish here. With that, moves back up to secure the sacred site again. Builds some forward walls as well, so it's just going to waste more Serral's time. Serral's reaction is going to be very static and slow. He has got a lot of knights here, but remember, these knights, I mean, they do decent damage. It still takes a while to get through a war elephant, though. And they will feel the pain. So there you go. Goes for the siege workshop. We talked about this at the counter, right? Get the Springles out, and then the Tower War Elephants don't feel good anymore. You can burn them before they can even reach you in a large enough sum. Knight charges in on Naval. Or Scholar, rather. I keep calling him Naval. So Scholar isn't going to be sniped out, though. This knight doesn't do enough damage. I don't think he got his charge bonus by the looks of it. It's weird as well, because I think if he got the charge bonus, he gets the kill. And instead, now, look at the panic. He sends in a second knight because he can't allow us to be capped. At this point, his eco, or his military rival, isn't strong enough. So he needs to eco up a little bit more and get the counter out, which should be, yep, Springles. Meanwhile, on the back, oh, the backside, whoa. Nice move in. So they sniped out the village trying to make the second line of palisades, and now they're able to break this down and decap the sacred site. So they're just playing a game of Benny Hills right now with Cap, or with Corp rather, not allowing him to get his full value. Meanwhile, fishing boats found on the backside. These outposts again from Cal, so he's going to snipe out this expansion. And this is problematic because right now Serral doesn't have another food supply, right? He cleared these outposts back here. Yes, you have this food for the moment, but we talked about the backline food deposits as kind of a backup plan, right? There's a finite amount of fish in here. It doesn't ever regenerate Serral shoreline. It's like 6,000 fish there, 6,000 food rather. Whereas this central area is going to support Cal throughout the entire game. So if you go for a 2-hour game, you have to play into that basin central. You have to actually get value and utilize this center lake, which Cal won't be able to do anymore. Once again, just so much value out of these battering rams just from Serral. I feel like a lot of people use these for one tactic and then use them as a throwaway. They just kind of like attack, click them in the enemy base. Like, gets build, great. But just utilizing them so strongly at this point, and now going for the defensive keep. So Serral just trying to make sure his choke point is controlled. And he does have the Springles, so this becomes a little bit worrisome for Kalp. Kalp needs to be careful. And he will back off. Remember, Palisades don't, you don't care about the walls if you're Springles against, with Palisades there, right? They'll just shoot you through them anyway. Which is kind of nutty, but in the most overused statement of 2021, it is what it is. Siege Workshop is going to be an ambitious attempt to build. So, Man-at-Arms forced to chase down these battering rams. We'll probably snipe out the village as well that Serral sent out to build the Siege Workshop. Bit of a whoopsie from him. There's a lot of harassment across the map right now. And so many outposts from Cal. The hilarious part is, like, Serral didn't even try and defend himself here. Like, how would you, right, against outposts? Your ships would be terrible. With the 50 range resistance for these outposts, you wouldn't be able to trade with attack ships. So he's basically just trying to get as much value as he can out of these fishing ships while they remain here. And in fairness, he did get through almost all of these fish deposits, right? So this won't be a backup supply for Kalp, which is why he's going for the center mass again. He has to be present. He has to find a way to lock on and stay on this center sea mass. Nice charging in. They could actually just mince the man-at-arms if they want to. But honestly, if you're Serral right now, it's just you just want to choke out and control the map a bit. I think from Serral's perspective, he's probably thinking like imp timing and then hard pressure. Because right now, he's built the counter to the Tower War Elephants, right? He's got Springles out the ready. What he'd probably like to have is just like capped out knights that can plow for his opponent. Especially when you see that Kalp is heavily investing in man-at-arms instead of getting the counter, which is spears. And Scout. Oh, he's going to complete the decap. That was really well played. Just about noticed in time to move the Scout away before he would have got sniped out by the crossbowmen and archers. And no Scholar here, so he can't even recap quickly. The Knights are coming through, but a reasonable amount of Spearmen here right now. Yeah, 9 Spearmen should force him back a little. Oh, whoa, Warrior Monk. Okay. I guess Monks don't get the Warrior in their title unless they're willing to do that kind of stuff. Backing off here. A little bit wonky on the retreat from Serral, losing some units in an unneeded fashion there, but we'll get them out. Really could do with I'd say some horse archers. I actually think horse archers is good here. He's going for the siege workshop, understanding his opponent is primarily building infantry, which means he's pretty clumped in these fights. So I like that maneuver as well. And he is building into the rack, so he's just looking for his own man-at-arms. So it should be a man-at-arms knight composite, which I don't mind actually, because when you have the mangonels, you'll even out his man-at-arms, and then your knights can wrap around on any like range line that he has. But look at the way he baits and splits up the fight. So he's going to wrap on this small force while they're distracted, and I think he gets the better trade. I think if anything, Kalp has to back up now. Might lose a few of his ranged units on the retreat. How many? He's got like no spears. Yeah. This is the thing. Spears are decent, right? But once they get outnumbered like that, once they get surrounded, you know, multiple units hitting into them, the damage bonus just doesn't matter anymore. This Kalp's force is just going to be spent. He's not getting them out at all, and he knows it. Horseman is just able to run them down. And with that, he should just be able to push back out to the sacred site and snipe out the scholars now trying to cap it. Meanwhile, on the north side, no sort of maneuvering from Kalp. Surprised he didn't try and reinforce, maybe push here. This is kind of the cool thing with what Serral's done here. Because he went for a mobile strike force in these knights, his opponent's forced to just dance for him, back and forth across the map, right? He's not able to just fully commit to north or south. And because he hasn't stonewalled or anything, it's not like he could run the risk of getting sieged in the north if he sent his full infantry for the south, right? And that has been the big difference here. I think if you want to keep up, you really need like a small mobile lancer force maybe, just react to like the smaller contingents attacking, but instead now going to the Springolds. I think he stopped on the production of the tower elephants as well. Yeah. So he did only get one. In fairness, they're a very slow moving unit, and when you see this many Springolds, you're countered, so you shouldn't be investing too heavily into it. Knights. Causing a little bit of nuisance and banging his opponent. I think if they hold here, the Springolds win this fight actually. Ooh. Mangonel. Mangonel can get a shot off here if it wants to. Doesn't quite, but the Springolds are going to wipe out these man-at-arms. They're trying to rebuild the walls, but one by one, they're all going to fall. And the Treb can pull these down pretty easily. Meanwhile, on the south side, reinforcements have arrived. Mostly crossbowmen, though. Decent against the Knights, but your front line is too weak. And instead, the Mangonel now striking at the crossbows with the Knights flooding through as well. They'll keep the Mangonel alive, and they will be able to get rid of these crossbows that are now in full retreat. So Serral now starting to eat control of this map. Territory advantage slowly going his way as he'll continue to push the forces back. More spearmen coming in to try and repel these Knights, but they are once again outnumbered. Mangonel didn't keep up. It stayed back, in fact, but the wraparound, they get rid of the Springald, they get around the back of the crossbowmen, and they will be able to get rid of this army that Kalp has just built. Meanwhile, on the north side, Tower Elephant, I love these Knights. They're like, let me at him, let me at him. It's genuinely just Scooby-Doo right now. This Scrappy's being dragged away by his uncle. Like, no, this is not the time to fight. Surrender the sacred site. It's not ours anymore. And understandable as well. He has to invest in defending the south side because he's still losing this battle. Look at the replenishment, by the way. All this while, more Knights being built for Serral. Kalp is behind, vastly behind right now. He's not even close to a tech up, right? So he's just trickling out an army that's getting wiped time and time again before it's ready to fight. He might have finally reached the mass to force them back here. The Mangonel might even be surrendered as the Springald snipes it out. These Knights might be a little bit too late as he'll back off. So back and forth teeter-tottering, but with the new ones coming in, he has the numbers once again, and that's going to be full retreat from Kalp. Looks like there was enough to deter Serral there, and it's important that he did as well, because if Serral kept pushing, Kalp was going to lose both the Springolds again. Meanwhile, still on water in the center. Only Kalp. And this is really, in my opinion, what's keeping Kalp in the game. I think if it isn't for this center mass of fish being under his control, with him having access to this, I think this game by now, Serral has control of 2/3 of the map. But this is the teeter-totter that's keeping him in, right? That's what's allowing him to have this eking towards the number Serral's achieving to keep competitive at this stage. So when we look at eco side, I think all of this was, yeah, this was just one CC. He never actually doubled up. I believe it was the same for Kalp, though. So you kind of expected them to be even. But really, I think the edge for Serral in that mid-game was getting access to the backwater line, taking that away from Kalp, taking that extra food is what really gave Serral the advantage. But he will have to find an advantage elsewhere soon, as these fish sources, they're going to dry up very soon. Springald's got nothing to do. Might as well fire giant wooden sticks at giant wooden sticks and get rid of them more of the palisades. Secondary wall line going down. Kalp has not really invested in the stones, so that's not actually an option for him. He's still reliant on just crappy palisade walls. At least they can get built pretty fast. Of course, he would have to go for Compounded Defender. Actually, I forget if that's a Tech 4. It might be that it's a Tech 4. That could make sense. Did he even get a Blacksmith? remember what building this in. In fairness, I don't see it that often, right? Usually if someone wants stone walls, they've got villages nearby and they just use them to stone wall. But min-maxing wise, of course, it is better if you can use your lads. I'd love to see this Treb just move over and snipe the dock. Doesn't really have any other place or any other reason to be here right now. So Serral still not going for a tech up. He's mobilizing his Night Force in the north, though. So he did sneak these lads in. Did he get any of these? I think he sniped a few of these villies, yeah. Caught him off guard. He'll move in and still get decent trades, even in these numbers, before backing off. Doesn't want to miss the Tower Elephant or the Springles backing it up. So we'll get out of there. Plenty of room to wrap around. And he sniped out this before the walls were complete as well. So really big deal there. Just going to annoy Kalp and waste more of his time. But once again, it's that Benny Hills we talked about, right? It's not even about directly engaging Kalp in a definitive fight that wins you the game. You don't need an emphatic victory here. It's more like it feels like a Pyrrhic victory for Kalp, even if he takes one here, because he's just running back and forth, constantly losing half of his forces. So even if he ekes out some sort of advantage off the back of a big fight, he's really in no position to push quickly, right? One, because of how slow his units move, and two, because of the heavy damage that would have been done to his existing army. But he is getting the tech up. So there's a difference. I don't think... I've been looking for this for ages. I still don't think Serral has gone for his... Oh, no, he is. There we go. High armory. This will be the difference maker, by the way. So we'll run through what Delhi's doing first. Palace to Sultan. This one's the one that brings out the Tower Wall Elephants. So you can garrison scholars to make it even quicker. You just get free units. This can be a big deal if this game stalemates too long, just because it's very expensive units, produced for free very slowly, but it's still for free. You're still saving like 1,000 eco, right? On the other side, however, Serral has a more present and clear danger to his opponent with this structure. The high armory is pretty impressive. Not only is it going to cheapen the cost of these Springles that directly counter your Tower Elephants, which is what you're going to be getting for free, remember, it also gives you access to this unique tech here. Banded Arms. 1.5 extra tile range on your Springles. It doesn't sound like much, but that actually means that your Springles can fire at a range that exceeds any other faction Springles. So you can basically take out Springles risk-free very easily when you're in a stalemate situation. And I expect him to, yeah, straight away. There you go, researches it. It's like it's the one reason you want this. Everything else is like, eh. Ram damage, okay, cool. Setup and teardown time of Trebs and Mangonels is instant, eh. Reduce the reload time of Bombards, maybe, but usually if you've got enough Bombards, like you've got 4 or 5 Bombards, you're probably in a situation where you're already Plowtown in the game, right? It is 100% about Banded Arms, which... Way too expensive for what it does, in my opinion. 100 wood, 225 gold. And remember, he gets the roller shot triggers as well, so he gets an extra 2 range. It reduces the reload time. So now, even if you're Kalp, even if you choose to go for the same research, which he did, right, in the Springolds, he's going to be outranged. And he's going to be outmassed by the Springolds, because as we said, these are also cheaper. 160 of wood and gold instead of 200. And yeah, still this military force in the south also keeps to cover them. Really solid defense strategy from Serral. Kalp has a hard time getting in here. He has amassed a lot of Springles here. And he is on the south side, his opponent's on the north. Remember, he knows this as well because this whole time, Serral has been sniping out all these palisade walls. So he's aware his opponent is out of position. And remember how slow these siege weapons are. Especially, yeah, okay, so at least they'll move a little bit quicker as he just researched the movement speed, but it's still a long way to cover. So if Kalp did choose to commit to an assault, it would be very hard for Serral to get positioned to stop it in time. And remember, he can't actually just indefinitely stop a Springle crawl with infantry, right? Because he can only build reinforced palisades. He doesn't have access to stone walls. Mangonel will be sniped out. Should lose these infantry for it. In terms of value trade, that actually evens up very much so. Like, he lost, what? 2 free man-at-arms, 2 free spearmen. So obviously more gold invested in that Mangonel, but in terms of like if you just put a raw number on the resources, it's pretty even. I think that Mangonel was damaged already as well. So Kalp now just trying to protect his docks on this side. You can already see Serral's looking to get active on this area. This is a smart move as well because he proved before how easy it is to just destroy Kalp's central economy with just 1 or 2 boom ships. So if he gets a demo ship in there, he's just going to sink all of the fishing fleet. And then he can take advantage of the late game economy here. And he kind of needs to. Like, look at the difference here. There's so much food surplus for Kalp. It's kind of surprising that he hasn't capped his military, but it's because he's occasionally losing some, right? Like, if you look at it, he's up 174 out of 200 right now. Compare that to Serral, 187. And a lot of this has gone into the Springwood army, which is why he's doing the keep crawl. This is the way he has to play this game at the moment, because he's so heavily invested in Springwoods. You can't just go in for, like, an immediate and definitive victory of your opponent. You need to do the keep crawl, so you always have a fallback plan and a protection point for these Springwoods if they get exposed. Definitely a big Night Force down here, though. Plenty of Palisade walls just going up. Layer after layer after layer. I said this before, right? Delhi is Shrek. They're ogres, man. They got loads of layers. They're like an onion. Maybe he needs to wall connect these, though. But yeah, it's got to keep down. So this is a really frustrating area for you to try and assault now. Let's see, yeah, going straight in for the boiling oil. Interesting. So something I didn't actually highlight in the early game is Kalp never actually built more scholars for research, right? He built them for frontline, for doing like capping or whatever. But like, look, it's always been a 1-3. I don't think at any point increased the research speed. So he seemed very comfortable with these slower research speeds. He didn't increase the capacity. Come on, hearty rations, folks. It's free. Everything is free. That's what people love about Delhi. That's why they want to be good. It's like everything is free. Who doesn't like free? Look at this. Who doesn't like free stuff? Yeah, just getting through all these outposts. Doesn't want to give vision. Doesn't want to give, like, information advice to his opponent so that there's, like, a flanking maneuver that's enabled, right? He doesn't want to... Because that's the only way you lose a Springwood army, really. If it's a front-on fight, it's going to be quite hard to get in quick enough if you're Kalp. Remember, Kalp has never once invested into a mobile military force. So from Serral's perspective, anything he faces is still going to be very slow and slogging it. That being said, Serral needs to stop attacking the palisades already. Jeez. Okay, yeah, he's going to back him up now. Mangonel, get a shot. He could get such a great shot here. They're all clustered, but he's going to keep backing up. So Springwoods will get out. Where are the Knights at right now? I feel like we haven't seen the Knights. He snuck in a bunch of men-at-arms because they were wrapping. Remember, they were getting rid of the outpost. He will hit up onto some of these villies, and a Ford Rack's being plopped down here. So reinforcement point in favor of Kalp. Where is the Knight? Okay, I was about to say, where are the Knights? He actually sent them all the way north. I thought he was going to try and wrap on the south, but he must have spotted out the walls plus the keeps, realizing he couldn't do it. That being said, looks like he has got a bombard cannon out. One bombard should be enough to wipe out all these defenses because all the military is fighting in the north. It's a really cool heads-up move out of Serral to just try and find a way to still eliminate this eco in the center. Push in. Gets rid of some stuff here. Springwoods going to try and stand their ground. Remember, superior range. Holy crap! That's the power, folks. Mangonel knows it's done. Just tries to get some value. So he can do a crawling retreat, and he can just keep firing off these Springwoods, by the way. So you actually have to be careful with Kalp. Kalp still not investing at all into cavalry is really detrimental to his ability to fight these battles. I do love this maneuver here, at least, just trying to create choke points so that, like, he's essentially funneling his opponent in, right? It's going to be hard to catch Serral off guard at this rate, though. And yeah, they've almost sniped the War Elephant. This is what I was talking about. Look at the range. Also, these wolves, they're working against you right now. This is so good for Serral. Kalp, what was almost just a great choice on this side, turns into a great mistake on the north side as he walls in his own troops. Trying to move through now. Springwood on Springwoods. I think the number advantage might be with Kalp, though. Now that he's built the gate, he can move his troops in, and that will force the Knights to engage. But remember, Springwoods, they do have the extra range, they're just not utilizing it. So Kalp is close enough to counterattack what is happening here from Serral. Serral definitely still has the numbers, and there's going to be a forced back retreat. So Kalp pulls back his Springwoods for the moment. That means the Springwoods should be prioritizing fire onto the infantry units. That being said, they are exposed to the spearmen who wrap around the back. There weren't enough Knights here. The Springwoods still trying to target this out. Numerical advantages with Kalp, but range is not, which is why he's targeting out the Knights instead. But the wraparound from the man-at-arms and the spears should clean up the rest of Serral's siege engines here. Small force left, forced to retreat, and look at the reinforcements trickling in. Kalp is producing them at a ridiculous rate, courtesy of the scholars sitting on the racks and courtesy of the Ford military base. Meanwhile, look at Serral. Everything is back in his primary base. He didn't expand a Ford operation here, so he doesn't have a quick way of reinforcing his army, which means Kalp has repelled him. Bombard cannon, in the meantime, does clear up all this. So keeps pretty much donezo. Attack ships out. he has secured the center mass. So this wasn't for nothing. We talked about this, right? Kaup's entire military was locked in the north. And we talked about how weak he can be from a fluidity point, right? His force is static. And this is something Serral took advantage of to put just a tiny task, the most tiny, minuscule task force of a few man-at-arms and a bombard cannon. And it has claimed its value, as it has pushed him entirely off the center sea. Now he will begin building into fishing boats, and this is where Serral's food will boom, and he can invest heavily into any food heavy type of composition he wants, right? Whether it's going for the horsemen, whether it's going for the knights, whether you want to spam man-at-arms. You already see he's actually rebuilding the knight army. It's just a case of how long you can consistently do this. Remember, gold veins are starting to dry up, right? We're getting to that later stage of the game when everyone's picked away at them. Kaup definitely has territorial advantage in terms of remaining gold. Of course, Serral did get into the center with this one, but it's almost burned. If anything, he needs to push through here, get rid of these keeps, decap the sacred site, and then give himself a situation where he actually has a full base to expand to mine more gold. Serral continuing in, makes another gate to move through. Double bombard now to deal with the keep. Serral hasn't brought his troops through yet over here, and he has an exposed economy here. Remember, he hasn't rebuilt these walls up as he's got through the wood line. So he's falling back, he's surrendering the keep. Siege Workshop being built on the front line by Serral, but I don't think this is going to be quick enough. I don't know if he's got enough springles either. Yeah, he's still matched on count right now, and this Ford army pushing in, remember the spears directly counter you, and he hasn't actually diversified still, so still no man-at-arms. Serral just opting to be fully mobile with the Knight Force. But Springolds, they're getting a lot of kills. This is a lot of value right now. I feel like there's a little bit of missed micro because he grouped all of them and then tried to click them back, so they slow moved away due to the Springolds' movement speed. With Springles now, they need to snipe out the bombards, they need to snipe out the Springles. Instead, they're going to fall back behind the walls. And it's hunker down time for Serral. He sees a choke point advantage potentially, so he tries to turn around for a fight, but this is not a good choke point for you. Remember, the spears do counter out your knights perfectly. It buys enough time to get the Springles behind the wall, but look, we talked about this. He didn't wall this. If they want, they could just run in. And the bombards just trying to demolish everything in their sights. Eco damage done as he snipes out multiple villages here. And these bombards will siege this keep quickly. Meanwhile, on the south side, push through still. A few troops being sent to deal with this single bombard cannon Serral has down here, though. And they will be able to find that the man-at-arms are just too slow. And I don't know if this is the right move from Serral. He sent so many man-at-arms down there. If they were up north, they take out this army, but they're still doing pretty well themselves. With the keep, with the Springles, and sniping out his own Springles. Kaup, he hasn't got the forces anymore. Yeah, these Springles are doing the work. They are in business. 10 here, no reinforcements coming in quick enough for Kaup. Kaup going to be forced completely back and away. He at least got rid of Serral's expansion in the north, and he did repel him in the south. But a lot of damage done to his primary army, and with his Springles still standing, and with Knights still being produced, look at the amount coming out from Serral. He can push forward now. And remember, we talked about this, right? The advantage of playing Knights in this type of matchup is you are quick across the board. When your opponent makes a mistake, there's an opportunity to capitalize. When you make a mistake, your opponent then has to go win another fight, and another fight. And that is the difference in this kind of tug-of-war back and forth across the map. In the end, in the south, it will be a win for Kaup, but will Kaup now try and stage an attack here? He's got Mangonels coming, so he's kind of all in on the bot side now. He needs to get value before Serral does. And I think, yeah, Serral, he's actually read this perfectly. He's moving south. He's had enough of this back and forth teeter-totter where, like, I take some of your land, you take some of mine, 100-year war later, and we're both unhappy, like England and France. Instead, he wants that emphatic victory, right? He wants that moment where his opponent looks into his eyes and accepts defeat. He wants to smell the victory. He wants to taste it. And that's why he's moving all the knights down here. Looks like he's got a small contingent up here. I would love to see Raider Horsemen just going in the north with the bombard cannons to siege out in the north while you have your like quality units in the south fighting, right? Because I think Spirals and Knights will repel this force that might be coming in from Kaup. That being said, oh my god, Kaup. He doesn't have info on the force coming south. He's just moving north. I think he's actually paranoid that he's going to be attacked north. And the only thing that Serral's doing up here right now is just, you know, building a new gold mine. That's it. Then again, in some ways, you could argue it's too easy advantage to play north to try and get his hands on his gold vein, but like there's been this gold vein sitting here the whole time. If Kaup cared about gold, he would have been on that ages ago. Kaup doesn't really seem to care about gathering gold. If we actually look at the amount of people gathering, it's just 18. And they're still working on this one. So he hasn't really prioritized it as much as Serral, remember, who has been spamming out this quality army, right? All these knights. Knights are pricey. They cost you 100 gold per knight. Not to mention 140 food. So Springolds with the Ram with a Zimmer frame, speed of taking things down. And there you go. Return of the army. Once again, like I said, just honestly, if I was to speed through this 4 times speed, I feel like you could play Benny Hills to this and it would kind of sum up the game in a lot of ways for Calp. He just hasn't ever been able to push an advantage. Like, you think that fight that happened top, it looks so good for him. He should have had enough time to maybe push in, hit the eco. But because you move so slow, because the reformations as well, whenever you click again with all the units, it costs him so much with his aggressive power. I definitely think that hurt Calp's last assault. His micro wasn't on point. And he needs to be careful in this next fight. Because I think if he loses this fight, I'm not even sure if he gets an army up quick enough to defend. Because remember, the Knights are going to keep on trickling. They never stop getting produced. The Knights never stop rolling. Bombard cannon in. Keeps trying to get the cannon placement. He destroys the wall. Really smart move. Calp understands that right now he hasn't built a gate. He can't go forward to build a gate because all the springles. He just needs to have a way of marching out basically instantly, right? And here come the Knights. Knights on spears. And they'll bait them out a little bit. Remember, these springles are sniping all the spears down one by one. The War Elephant is already gone. And there are so many Knights here. The man-at-arms are coming through as well, but the springles, they're being sniped out. Serral has the advantage. So many siege weapons against the small, insignificant force that Calp is trickling in here. Mangonel's trying to even it up. But even if they do get a decent amount of these Knights, there's enough here to hold as cannon fodder on the front line, or the springles just clean up all the man-at-arms. The Bombard Boom Cannon in. Trades for trades. Few man-at-arms left here. It's going to even out, and it's just going to be range versus range, and that is the advantage that then Serral has, as there isn't that much left. Serral, if he micros this right, will get rid of all these units before he loses any springles. Not quite getting the micro right. His attack click and all target the same. Warrior Monk even in the mix to try and slow things down. And that will force a back from Calp. Treb is about to get rid of the keep as well. Only siege weapons left, but plenty of those for Serral, so he'll happily look for those trades if need be. And meanwhile, in the north, look what happened this whole time. He finally found a way to get those horsemen in. He was kind of skirting around. He was looking for the weak entrance, and he found it. It was actually Calp who opened it up. He cut through the tree line and gave the keys to the base to these horsemen that have been running rampant through the north eco side of Calp. And they might even snipe out this gold line. Look how many villagers are going to be out here as well if he sees this. Meanwhile, in the south, this just might be where Serral is confident that he can push in, right? Because even though it's a small force, it's something that Calp has to react to. And when you see this many troops in the north, you got to be feeling thumbs up to go in the south. And new defenses as well. So Serral wants to make sure he's not exposed on the north. If he does hard commit on the south, could even put down some palisades if he wants, and he's going to go for the cap. Remember, Sacred Sites, guys, still a way to win. And wouldn't it be an ironic way to win against Delhi, a faction that is known for rushing the Sacred Sites, walling them up, just to trickle that gold, but potentially give themselves an early Sacred Site victory. Oh, this is getting good. So Calp, what's the transition? What's the flip? What's the change? He started to adapt. He started to build these Mangonels, right? That was one of the big differences I was really thumbs up about. That hadn't been there for so long. The problem is against the Springolds, if you only got 1 or 2, they're going to get sniped so quickly. And if you want to invest in like 5, 6 Mangonels, it's so expensive. That's the tough part, Yaz. Still, not investing in cavalry at any stage in this game has really, really burned his ability to play it. There you are. Serral moves on to the gold vein, says, I'm going to take my time, bud. Your move. Swag glasses drop down, tilts his head like, you want some? We'll have to see if Calp can get some. How are we looking on resources right now? Calp really starting to suffer a bit, especially in the food front. Wood as well. Yeah, wood's starting to run out, right? He's still got this tree line. I'm surprised he went for this one instead of that. I think maybe he did want to get rid of some of the wood lines in the center, so he had access, you know, to this additional supply and then could fall back later into the safe supply. But it's kind of funny how that worked out against him, right? When it opened up this opening, this passage for the horsemen to just run all the way up and burn you out. But he is at least getting onto this gold vein now. So they both have a giant gold surplus to work with in the coming minutes. Difference is this Springald army. It's still uncontested. Up to 14 now. 15, in fact, for Serral. And although they don't siege keeps quick, if nothing else, this lets his opponent know he's coming. It's like the drums of war for us is the sound of Springalds going off. And all of his military is here. So no cheeky shenanigans, no attempt to go around the back. He knows he has to fight here. The Treb's going to force it quicker than he maybe like as well. He's basically pop-capped. Eco making up half of it. And remember, we talked about this before, right? Quality. It's mostly been just quality units coming out from Serral instead of quantity. Whereas, you know, Spearmen, now hand cannons. Okay, so he's trying to get some quality in there, but it's 8 hand cannoneers. I don't know if it's going to be good enough. The Springles are sniping out a lot of units on the way in. War Elephant's already gone. Springles looking to back up. He's going to have to fight this to protect them, though. Or maybe not. Yeah, it looks like the formation again. I think the formation caught Kalp out. It looked like he maybe selected the Springles, so it felt like he wasn't moving quickly. It looked like, if anything, halfway through that, his infantry were trying to reform on the turn. Moss going down as well. What is he? What? Wait, is he going for the... Is he actually going for the convert? What? Maybe. Pretty sure it was Delhi that get the ability to convert single units without wall lolling, right? Without, like, relic wall lolling. Squirrels on the side. They're not attacking right now. And the knight... Uh-oh. The horsemen. The horsemen will not last long. They got baited in. They got all aggroed. Oh, no. That was not intentional from Serral. Look at the AFK Springles right now. I don't think he lost too many in the end. He lost maybe 6, 7 of them. And they at least took 1 or 2 units with them. That could have been catastrophic there for Serral, though. He quickly got control of it and microed them back. That could have been 10 times worse, however. Whew. Probably counting his lucky stripes right now. Serral pop cap, though. Kalp as well. How are we looking here? So, yeah, I think a big part of this, as we're seeing, right, is more than anything, he just wants to heal his units up. It's really important, like, because he's trying to convert into quality units, Kalp kind of needs to keep these fielded and healthy. He's really just looking for that value. Of course, even Springles healing over in this area. Something important to remember, right, is that these moss do give a healing effect. You can see the small AoE, which is what he's doing here. Meanwhile, on the north, Bombard cannon to get rid of these keeps. We saw this before, right? Serral just small, tiny, absolutely almost inconsequential commitments onto one side of the map that he knows his opponent is too static to respond to. Just continue to keep the narrative of the game the same. Because he knows if he continues to do it that way, Kalp's never going to get ahead. He's just slowly been eking ground if you think about it, right? Think about where these keep lines were 10 minutes ago, right? Think about the control Kalp had 20 minutes ago. Serral is just is death by 1,000 cuts. There isn't this need to just take a sledgehammer to his face and end him instantly. He's making him suffer. He keeps going down. Boom cannons here to play. No way to really reach the bombards either. He's even got workers on this. He's repairing it the whole time, so cannon, Springles, it's not going to be enough from the keep to bring it down. And although they are repairing this, I think they are slowly losing the keep. That being said, I don't know if it's quick enough that you're happy about this if you're Serral. If anything, I'd say maybe like a second bombard would be good, but both of them are pop capped at this stage. Kind of invested in what you're kind of stuck with at this point, right? Like, you could delete your units, but for what? What's the trade-up? Eco-wise, Serral at 100. This is usually where we see players kind of flat. 100, or in Kalp's case, because he's slightly behind, well, not slightly, but he's very behind military-wise. He wants those quantity, right? So he's gone for an extra 10 to military, down to 89 eco. And you can see, like, it's just ridiculous surplus. Serral could afford to throw 5 armies at his opponent and still build new ones right now. And there it is. Just runs them in. I like this play. Like, there's no point having this weird stalemate. You have to feel like you have eco advantage, right? So push it. Straight in on the keep. One more boom and it's gone. And then they can move in with the Springles. Look at the range on these things. It's just absurd. 13.5 tiles. If he moves them in a little bit, he'll get eyeballs on all these man-at-arms, these spearmen, and they won't last long. Yep. Just more ground forfeit. Honestly, right now, although Serral is the one playing the Russ, it honestly feels like Kalp is in a Stalingrad situation. He needs to full-on scorched earth, blow up everything, hide in every building he can, and slowly forfeit ground, but never give up the fight. The problem is he hasn't really fought for so long now. More Springles coming out, but I mean, look at this. 10 Springles worth, 10 Springles versus the 13 with superior range. How do you get close enough? Honestly, you really don't. And he's just getting baited into this. Look, runs out for these few units, and if you want with the Springles now, you just start sniping out several of these units, so it becomes a good trade. Even on the retreat, look how many he's going to lose. 3, 4, 5. Like, it just gets ridiculous. Tower Wall Elephants as well. I thought he learned his lessons. I think these were the auto spawn ones. He's never committed to building them himself. So War Elephant's going to go down, charge in from the spearmen, from the horsemen and the knights. And they're baited in. They're committed. They're wrapped in. They're too deep now. Yeah, you maybe get one Springald here, but you're going to lose your entire infantry line now. Baited in perfectly. Serral with a wrap, just engaging the main line and then cutting them off and forcing them into a choke point means that Kalp is going to lose his entire army here. Serral just trying to hold his ground here as he whittles down the incoming reinforcements. And once again, with the Springald number, he has the advantage. He can easily build more on the front line if he wants to. In fact, he needs to trade for more gold at this stage because he's capped on food and wood, but gold is where he's lacking. And after that, fairly even trade, but Springald advantage is, I think it's now, has Kalp got it? 12 versus 12. So still Springald advantage for Serral. Remember, he has that additional range. But Kalp still no, like, this is kind of the best way I always compare these styles, by the way. But bloody hell. Enough scholars? All right, mate. Even the village, everyone gets healing. It's the NHS. Look at him go. But no, this is what I like to kind of compare when I'm looking at these games, strategic games, whether it's like Dota, whether it's like Age of Empires. You can even talk about it from like larger FPSs, is proactive versus reactive. Everything Kalp has done so far has been reactive for like the last 20 minutes. Everything Serral is doing is proactive. Even if he loses these engagements, he's not forfeiting ground, and he's at least trying, right? The problem that Kalp has is because Serral has a superior chunk of the map and has so much surplus in food and wood, he can keep throwing armies at this like he's doing right now, and he doesn't have to care. This heal spam, by the way, these scholars, not bad, but they might start getting sniped out quickly. And remember, this spring will snipe out these infantry quicker than you can heal them. Bombard's getting involved, trying to bring down the keep. This front line is not holding, though. It's just too much damage. The scholars are going to be burnt up quickly. This feels like it's the last all-in for Kalp. He doesn't have enough surplus resources to rebuild this army, so if this one falls, it's going to be all GG. Pushing through, and the front line is still holding with this many scholars healing. He can't snipe them out quick enough. He's not microing them correctly. But finally, the army will fall. The second surplus of knights coming in was good enough, and look at the reinforcements trickling in. It's non-stop from Serral. Even if he loses this frontline army, he has a second one that's already in production, which is why he's keeping himself pop cap. Meanwhile, Kalp, he's starting to trickle down. 66 military units left compared to Serral, who is up at 60 now. Remember, we talked about this quality versus quantity situation, right? Push in. Spearman baited far away from the siege engines, by the way, so now they need to retreat. He's going to lose most of these in the retreat. The Spearmen will continue to snipe. Meanwhile, in the north, a small contingent have snuck in, and they found the gold line. And Kalp, this will be all the gold that he has access to. He's only got 1,000 in storage right now to spend on a quality army. Knights, baiting them out with that superior mobility. If he can wrap around the back, he can snipe out all these siege engines right now. War Elephant, not long for this world. Spearmans will be able to snipe that down. A few Knights just in the mix to keep these Spearmen away as they push through, trying to get on top of the Spearmans. And the Spearmans, they focus fire. They look onto the bombard cannons. Such a valuable trade. Even if he loses a few, he's going to get rid of all the siege engines that Kalp has left. And that just might be it. Serral, he finally does it. In true StarCraft fashion, as an unlimited Zerg of horses is the decisive factor here. And Kalp, just his army in shambles, in ruins at this stage. Barely any siege engines, plenty left for Serral, plenty of gold, wood, food, anything you choose. Kalp drained to the bone, every piece of blood just sapped out of his body.